I am doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. This has been such a lively summit today. Salespeople are fun people.
Yes. Usually charismatic. You have to be, right? Because you're,
Charismatic is different than fun. I will give you that. But luckily, they are fun as well, but certainly charismatic. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, no, it's a good point. It's a unique type of function to play. So it's a people facing. You really got to constantly be interacting and thinking about others in a way, right? With sales. So I'm sure the group is an interesting bunch.
Oh, yeah. It's been absolutely delightful. So, Rachel, I know about what you do, but I would love for you to share with everyone listening here of who you are, what you do, your company Woken, a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So my name is Rachel Surwitz, and I have been building my company Woken for 6 years now. So I'm a career coach, and we offer a monthly subscription. And that actually does include a tech component. So we have a digital platform. We also offer coaching sessions. We do texting and emailing, group coaching, group co-working, and we help a wide variety of professionals with a wide variety of different career goals and challenges. Um, so, in terms of sales, right, we do a lot of direct to consumer marketing and sales, and we have a lot of kind of workflows that we built out, but there's so much that goes into figuring out kind of the right person, even the positioning, the branding, the language, where you're going to sell. All of those components over the last 6 years, we have figured out, and how we go about it. We offer a free initial call. So it's a great, it works well for us because when you're going to work with someone as a coach, any kind of coaching, there's so much like financial coaching out there. If you're in that world, even freelancing and consulting, if you're going to work with somebody who they're really sort of hiring you as the thing that they're, you're selling them on, sort of working with you in that capacity versus just a hard, product, then that free initial call is kind of one of many ways to start your sales funnel. But that's how we do it. So yeah, happy to talk more about kind of what sales looks like for us, but that's the story. And yeah, we are bootstrapped. So over the last few years, we have grown, and I do have two other coaches on my team. So, we grow slowly, steadily, slowly but surely. And so, just figuring out how to manage that funnel is something that I have done over the past few years, and happy to share what I can today.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. And I'll just plug it right out the gate. Follow Rachel on LinkedIn and all the things. Rachel has so many great resources too that I have benefited from. I've reached out to Rachel. She's helped me. She means it when she says it. She really is a person of her word. So I just want to say thank you in front of everybody as well.
Of course.
Oh, yeah. So let's get into it a little bit. One of the questions here is, how do folks test demand for a new product or service idea? So maybe I created an app, or I am going to be a consultant. How do I test the waters before going all in with my time and maybe money?
Yeah. So many thoughts. You can test demand just from a marketing standpoint, but also like a product standpoint. So on the product side, we talk about the MVP and the minimum viable product. So if you're thinking of a digital product, like we started with a type form survey, which I'm sure they have a free tier or a low cost thing to create. We also started with like a Google Sheets. So if you're interested in any digital apps, like how can you build a small scrappy thing that's still digital, but it's not like you're coding a whole thing, just to see like, will somebody even interact with anything digitally about this topic? You'd be surprised, like creating, having them watch videos, having them fill out some sort of digital survey. These are mini little inclinations of like, should I go build out a bigger digital product? Are they interacting at all digitally? And so we built a whole Google Sheets, several tabs, as if it were screens on a web app, right? And so, we got very creative and took out all the cell borders and just used design to make it look like a website. Of course, there's, Figma, and there's other ways to do prototypes. So there's so many ways to build scrappy products and test and get feedback and look at interaction on the product side. But on the marketing side, like, I think in the beginning, we went as simple as, like, on my personal socials, I would just post, some language. This was the beginning of, how do I frame what I think someone is facing in their mind? Like, how do I think about the challenge that I think they're having? And with your language, you're trying to start with, like, the marketing copy of, like, what resonates with your user, right, or your customer. And there's different ways to, think about that kind of empathy and what's going to resonate and what's going to, and so this is where you're actually testing assumptions, and you can do that, nice A/B test, right? Maybe you think they have one problem, but they have another. So posting on different things and just seeing, do you get likes? Do you get comments? I remember there was one great test where it was like, if you have this challenge, email me at this, link, or fill out this survey. If somebody's not willing to take a small action, like fill out a survey or send an email, they probably don't care about that problem enough to solve it, let alone pay to solve it. So what some healthy level of friction tests, did 10 people fill this out or 400? I remember I had one one Facebook post once in a group of, like, entrepreneurs, and it got like 400 likes or comments. That's when somebody's truly taking the time and energy to care and interact and engage. That's telling you something. The other thing is, I'm sure today you've heard about customer discovery. So there's a very formal way that you can actually learn how to properly interview your prospective customers so that you can assess your own assumptions, test assumptions. And, again, if you talk to 30 people that are your target customer in an objective way, asking open-ended questions, you're going to notice those nuances and the patterns. And, I remember thinking, a working professional and a college student were the same. They have the same problems, but, like, no, they're in a different stage of life. They have a different way of thinking. They have different assumptions, different challenges, and different goals, and different pain points, and different motivations. So, you think about how to get to know your customer. Customer interviews, if you do them properly, will help you get really deep. And, we all make assumptions, whether you want to believe it or not. And so with sales, like, that's your moment where assumptions are not going to serve you, because it doesn't matter really what you think the problem is. It matters whether other people have that problem, what they think their problem is, right? So for example, people may think they're struggling with their resume when, I chat with them and realize, well, they actually don't even have clarity on what direction they're trying to go in. So what it sounds like, what it looks like versus the real problem, there's so many nuances to all of this, right? But that's why you're going to provide some product or service. But there's a lot to learn in the beginning. So just being aware of assumptions, being aware of how to really deeply find those true patterns, how to resonate, and how to test in, like, very scrappy ways. Don't spend a ton of money. Don't go build an app before you know anything about the user base. So try to be scrappy. And what we did is, like, we would earn money off of that early prototype, a type form, Google Sheets. Anytime we earned that money, we would invest it into a more advanced product. But just be very careful if you're just going to, like, build some big expensive thing before testing the waters.
Yeah. And I love what you said earlier about a healthy level of friction is a great way to test that. That's a chef's kiss, Rachel Surwitz moment, because you get to see, like, if they're just able to put in a little bit of effort, that means someone wants this. How many people? That's very, very useful tip. I love that. I love that. And also wise advice to just don't go throw money at things before you're ready to do it, because it can be very expensive to get something off the ground in a full form.
Yeah, I mean, but the great thing is, a website these days, it depends. You can make it quick and scrappy to throw up a website, or you can go really intense. So start small, have a landing page. The other thing about friction is, like, you can have different levels of friction. So, like, a Calendly might have 5 or 10 questions where you have to tell me about yourself. But for the person that's, like, quick and they want to opt in and hear more later, you could have a place where they just enter their email address. They're still expressing interest to learn more, but that's different stages of, level of engagement, level of interest, right? So you can have different levels of friction for someone who doesn't have time and wants to hear more later. But I would just think about making it too easy for someone to opt in. Again, email address is great to capture for later, but if you're like trying to truly test demand and it's too easy for them to say, yes, I have this problem, did they take an effort to go out of their way to try to express interest because they really have that problem and they really care? Because that level of effort is going to show you, like, would they also give money to this thing and to solve this problem? It's a little bit correlated, in that way.
Absolutely. And when people are starting out, I'm sure a lot of people are wondering, how do I find the right price tag to put on what I'm selling? So what tips would you recommend for someone venturing into that?
Yeah. Price is so interesting.
Mhm.
So the first thing, of course, you can look at competitors. You can also ask yourself, what is my positioning? Like, so for me, I do actually try to be an affordable career coach, and that's part of our differentiation because most coaches are so expensive. You can ask yourself, like, how does this work in the market? And is price a point of differentiation for me or not? You may say, I'm even with the market, but I'm differentiated in other ways, right? So think about how it plays into your strategy, your brand, your offering, your value. And business model is a whole other component. Like, I see coaches that will charge 5,000 upfront. I don't do that. I charge monthly, right? So it's like, how long do you need the service? What's that frequency? Coaching is interesting because I've seen coaches where they say sign on for 3 months or 6 months, but then you're going to have to sort of upsell, or how do you continue? Is that level of churn something you want, versus do you want people to opt in for a certain period of time? What's that renewal strategy? Even if you're B2B, is it a year-long contract or 2 or 3 or 5, or what does that look like? So you want to think about that. You also want to think about tiers or options, right? Maybe you have 1 or 2 or 3 levels of your service. Maybe there's like small, medium, light, medium, and heavy, whatever you want to call it. Like, we have sort of frequent coaching, intense coaching, sort of medium and light. It depends on what your customer needs. There might be a variety of options there too. So there's so many different ways of structuring it. There's a lot of ways of testing as well. Customer discovery. You can actually say, what would you be willing to pay for something like this? You can ask that to 30 potential customers and see what you're hearing, because they're going to tell you what they've looked into already. Where did they go find solutions? Why did they choose that solution? Did they try it? How did it work? Did they not try it? Did they not opt in? Why? Was it too expensive? The other thing is just like testing. Like, I remember we just started with the price, and then you're going to see, is it flying off the shelves because it's like so reasonable? And what percent of your leads are converting? If like 0 are converting after having that initial, say it's a demo call or whatever, then maybe like you look at your funnel and say, like, are we having that call and then no one's converting? And what could that mean? Is it they don't know where to go? Is it the price? So by looking at the stage of the process where you're seeing friction, or you're seeing, people stall or people not moving through, that's another way to diagnose it. And seeing, that's, I guess, a few of my thoughts of how to start with pricing. There's a lot of thoughts. People say, like, once you start, it's hard to like increase. You can be flexible to the extent you need. Like, we have increased over the course of time. So I don't think you need to like pick your price knowing it's your forever. There are ways of also A/B testing, on a website, things like that. But between customer discovery, testing it out, looking at competitors, thinking about your business model, thinking about frequency and churn and upselling, those are just some of the ways I would start thinking about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm curious too, when you're touching on how folks were noticing, oh, we have the discovery call and they're not converting. Price might be a part of it, but it might not as well. How can folks figure that out? Well, like, what is the problem here? Or what is the friction here?
Yeah. Of course, you can try to ask people, like, why didn't you convert, or would you be willing to give me any feedback? We do something where we'll send like a mini little, not like a survey, but like say a little bit after the call. Well, first I'll just say, 7 to 14 touch points or whatever the number is the average number of touch points you need with a customer, at least direct to consumer, to convert. So just keep in mind, follow-ups are important and necessary. You've got to stay in touch, stay in communication. You don't want to badger somebody, but like regularly staying in touch. Also, it's, I find most of our conversions happen within 24 to 48 hours after the call. So like thinking about time span, is there a delay? Are you following up right away? Do they know where to go? Have somebody test it out on your team, like have a pair of fresh eyes, somebody who's never seen it before. Are they confused? Like true, like UX is, what is someone's experience going through the flow? Like, are they receiving an email or a text? Like, where are you directing them to go? Is it clear? You can also try to look at like abandoned carts, like maybe people added it, but then didn't check out, things like that. You want to just analyze. Oh yeah, we send somebody a quick little survey of like, oh, you're ready to dive in, or, A, you're ready, B, you're interested, but have more questions and want to book another time. C, you're interested, but not the right time. Like, let's reconnect whatever time. Or D, not interested. Something as simple as that in a text message, somebody could easily reply A, B, C, or D. And then what's great is, even if somebody says D, you can be like, oh, great. Like, did you find someone else? Sometimes people will just tell you, I found someone else, or whatever it may be. So try to keep the line of communication open, make it simple for somebody to respond and react. You could try doing a survey. You could try doing a phone call. You could try doing user interviews to see, can you give me some feedback on your experience and what you're perceiving? I'm just learning, I'm growing. People are supportive of a growing business. You could say, I'm building my business, you're one of the first 200 people. You don't want to give it all away in the sense of like you're early to this, but you could say, I'm building out a new service and I'm curious if you're open to sharing that feedback. You could try that route. Or just looking at the data, right? Like, so if you're seeing abandoned carts, then okay, people are finding it, they're interested in the price, but then something's hesitating. And again, it's hard to always know until we like get deeper. Maybe they're not clear on what it comes with. Maybe they're just not ready. You could of course try like timely promos, like if you sign up in this amount of time, you get this discount, or things like that. Incentives help. Every business model is a little different, right? So for example, I've thought about doing, maybe from Jan to March, we have this coaching program and you have to sign up by this time. But I don't often do that. Now, for folks that do have a time-based structure, that's going to drive urgency and things like that. So you want to think about, what could the factor be? Knowing your product, knowing your service, knowing how it works. For me, we don't do the time-based model. So it leaves it up to the person. When are they really ready? So there's so many factors. Those are just some of the ways you could try to drill into it.
Yeah. And it takes some trial and error, right? And some experience, because you also have to do something that you feel, as the salesperson, as the person offering a service, that you feel comfortable doing, right? You don't want to do something that feels icky, because that will read, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It has to feel somewhat natural and authentic, and not everybody feels comfortable doing sales. So, I would also just tap into your own comfort level, because our mindset will affect, the price. Price, by the way, it's the value that you are placing on the thing too. So the mindset when you're approaching the sales calls or pricing or any of this absolutely comes into play, if that's natural for you or not. So if you're starting your own thing, look, any entrepreneur, we're not good at every little element. So if you need help and you're really not great at this, get a sales coach. Or if you're great at it, awesome, and you have other areas of support, get help there too. But if this is less comfortable, then always find ways to get the support through it, because it is common that it's not always comfortable. But there's a way to make it authentic. For me, when I get on a demo call or a sales call, I'm just being myself, and I'm telling them, here's, what I'm hearing from you, and here's your challenges, and here's how I would help you, which is real. So you can always make it feel good to you. You're just trying to provide your value to them. So you don't have to do anything dishonest. Like, the more you can let them in on who you are and what you're about and what your service is, great. Now, not everybody's going to have a call. So that's, there's different things to think about. Building trust, building credibility. Can you have previous testimonials be clearly found, and previous success? Obviously, that's huge if you can have that early on where somebody can see it. So it does depend, right? Having that call is a really unique thing. You can be face to face, but that's not the case for every, business. It could be e-commerce, it could be a product. It depends. But of course, the success, the proof points, the testimonials, we all know that's number one to building the trust and following up and making sure you're staying in touch and not just, expecting somebody to come remember and find you.
Right, right, right. And the testimonials and the previous projects that we've worked on, for folks that have pivoted, perhaps maybe they're switching into a new career, or they have a new service, or they're launching a new business. How can you take some of that stuff from your past and use it for your current endeavors and still feel like it's aligned? Is there a way to do that?
Yeah, like if you're new and don't have a testimonial yet, um, you could start having some guinea pigs and start having one or two clients, whether it's free or low cost. Like when I was first coaching and just in the middle of my training, I was having people in my personal network who knew me, wanted to get coaching support. So it was, I'm sure I had a few free clients at first just to practice and iron out the kinks. And then it was a really low price, right? So you can get the wheels turning with a friendly engagement where they need help, but they're willing to pay a lower cost for you to learn on the job. There can be mutually beneficial things like that. You can also just get a testimonial for somebody who has worked with you in the past, even if they write about your nature, your demeanor, your work ethic, your whatever. It's like a recommendation on your LinkedIn profile. They're going to say your strengths and what it's like to work with you, even if it was in a different context. So those are testimonials that you can still put. But getting free users, like if it's a product or a service, like having some people try it for free in some capacity so that you can have one or two quotes, whatever they say is good. I'll give you an example. Like there was an early workshop I did and I got some feedback. That quote, I think, we actually print out my book, and one of those early quotes was from a workshop I did. There's different things where you can get feedback from different capacities. Maybe they didn't get your full product if it's not ready yet, but they did something with you, something small, right? And they can still give feedback. And if they said it and they're willing to have you share that, there you go. So when you're already going to be starting small and scrappy with those MVPs anyway, always ask for feedback with whatever it is you're already testing. Always have those feedback moments. And then ideally that, you can use their words, and sort of show the world, what it is they experienced and what they thought.
Totally, totally. And for those folks that are also on the new journey, venturing in new stuff, okay, I got some pull quotes. Now I'm going to have to start dealing with the big uncomfortable thing of rejection. How do I get used to no's, rejection? How do I be okay with that? How can I use it as a learning tool?
Yeah. I mean, it is exactly that. Like we have to try to learn from it. Depends how often you want pivot points, but once a week, I like to take stock of where we stand. Once a month is also a great moment, but have those feedback surveys or have some data analysis mechanism, like when we were talking about abandoned carts or whatever you're analyzing, like have a periodic moment to measure. You might have received some responses to an email that told you why it was, right? So look at the data you have, whatever data you have on a periodic basis, and you have to, as an entrepreneur, be objective with like, I need to take in all this information. I need to know the truth about what's going on the other end. You can't worry about like kind of how you feel, in the sense that like the best thing for you would be to know what's really going on, right? That's your best ammo. So you have to be open to it. You have to be seeking that out truthfully. Like that's what you want. The sooner you get the honest data, the sooner you can fix it, right? Is it the business model? Is it the format? Is it the language you're using? Was it confusing? Was it the price? The sooner we can identify that, the sooner you can account, you want those pivot loops, right? So just know experimentation, testing, pivoting, adjusting. That's kind of what marketing and sales is, right? So get comfortable and create a process around it. You don't have to measure every day. Make a once a week moment or bi-weekly or monthly, and just like have a moment where you can digest everything. Try to have someone else there if you're working on this by yourself. Like have somebody who can be a peer, mentor, coach, somebody. It's nice to have that back and forth to help you reflect and draw those insights. Yeah, that's my quick thoughts on that.
Totally. Well, we have just a couple minutes left, Rachel. So I'd love for you. I mean, I feel like, so I'm going to ask you, like, tell me about Woken, but I feel like you have without telling me. You've told me without telling me quite a bit in this call because I really got experience of like how you approach working with folks. But so if someone's just brand new to Woken, what would you like them to know?
Yes. So, of course, this chat is about anyone starting their own thing. So whether you are trying to sell yourself, whether you're looking for full-time gigs, part-time gigs, freelancing, consulting, or starting your own business, we do help individuals and professionals with their careers. And that could be entrepreneurial, it could be part-time, it could look a lot of ways. So if you need any guidance or just momentum and support, we're here for you. And just know that like entrepreneurship is such a fluid, winding path. Ambiguity is expected. And so having, you may not have like a co-founder, but just having a co-pilot with you is great. Don't feel alone. There's always a way to get even just a friend, a peer, another pair of eyes and ears, to sort of prompt you through your next steps. And yeah, I think with sales, it's the assumptions in the early days, the assumptions is key. So just make sure you're really trying to listen and learn truly. If somebody has a problem, they're going to want to solve it. So if you're not seeing the traction, just like keep identifying like what might be missing. Maybe they have a different problem than what you thought. But there's so much need out there for support. And so your talents can always be offered. It's just a matter of reaching your customer in the right way. So just keep experimenting, get support through it. And I always say with entrepreneurship, with enough time, persistence, and creativity, you'll get there. You know what I mean? It just takes kind of those ingredients.
And what's the best way for folks to stay connected with you, Rachel?
Yes. I'm always on LinkedIn, as you said. So Rachel
It's
Service
true.
on LinkedIn.
Quick to
Literally.
reply too. Thank you.
Of
It's true.
course.
Rachel
Literally
is.
every day. I mean, it's I live on there. But other than that, our website is iamwoken.com. We always offer a free initial call, as you all know. And yeah, we will send usually like a monthly email if you want to sign up for that, just to stay up to date, as we always do free events. Most socials, we're either at Get Woken or at Woken. Come find us one way, shape, or form. Find me, reach me, beat me. You can always reach out if there's any follow-up questions from today. I'd be happy to help.
Awesome. Rachel, thanks for making the time today. Always great to see you and speak with you.
Yeah, you too. Talk soon.
Talk to you soon.